Welcome back. Another Tuesday, another UFC main card preview. This time, UFC 275. We're going with two title fights here. We got Glover Teixeira defending his light heavyweight title versus Yuri Prochazka. Excuse me. And then we have Valentina Shevchenko defending her title against Talia Santos. Great card we got here. Once again, I did one card from the prelims, and I left off one of the main card fights. The main card fight that I left off on Torin versus Manel Kape fight, and the one prelim fight that I added was Jacob Malkoun versus Brandon Allen. Let's jump right into it. Glover Teixeira making his first UFC title defense. He's currently on a 6-fight winning streak. He won the light heavyweight title over Han Blachowicz at UFC 267 in October. 33-7 professional record, 18 wins by knockout, 10 wins by submission. Never been submitted in his professional career, and he has been knocked out in 3 out of 7 of his losses. He is a second-degree black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he's got wins over Carl Robinson, Ion Cutelaba, Nikita Krylov, Anthony Smith, Thiago Santos, and then, of course, Blachowicz for the title in his 6 most recent wins. Teixeira in the fight with Santos and the fight with Blachowicz, he has looked exceptionally strong. He's getting older, so a lot of people think as age goes, your chin goes, your strength kind of goes. But one thing that's holding on really tight for Glover Teixeira is his strength. He's become an extremely dominant grappler later in his career, and he's going up against Prochazka, who's coming into this fight with a 1-inch height and a 4-inch reach advantage over Glover Teixeira. Prochazka is 28-3-1 as a professional. His UFC record is 2-0, though. He knocked out Volkan Oezdemir in his debut, and then knocked out Dominic Reyes in his most recent win. Prior to the UFC, though, he's got wins over CB Dalloway, Fabio Maldonado, Muhammad Law, King Mo, Bruno Capoloza, Carl Abskritin, and then Vadim Nemkov, who is the Bellator light heavyweight champion, and Darko Stosic. So just off these names alone, this guy should have been in the UFC a long time ago. He's beaten former UFC light heavyweights, Bellator champions. It's incredible. Comes in 2 highlight reel knockouts. He's ready for the big show. I think the question everybody has is, yes, Dominic Reyes was a former Division I or a former college wrestler. But other than that, CB Dalloway, Bruno Capoloza was a really good jiu-jitsu guy, and he's never really fought anybody that has crazy strength in his takedown abilities. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think Nemkov lost his Bellator title in his last fight, but I don't think he's ever fought anybody with crazy strength in his grappling like Glover Teixeira. With that being said, I don't think it's going to matter. I think Yuri Prochazka will be the next UFC light heavyweight champion. I don't really see how he's not. I mean, he's definitely going to outstrike him. I believe he's going to come in with a better cardio. And with that being said, if he gets taken down, I think he'll be able to jump right back up and get off some of his unorthodox strikes. I'm going to go Yuri Prochazka. The odds makers are with me. They got him at -200. So I think it's easy there. Prochazka, the new light heavyweight champion. Valentina Shevchenko versus Talia Santos. This one, again, hard to go against the odds makers here. -630 favorite for Valentina Shevchenko. She is 22-3 as a professional. Her 3 losses come against Amanda Nunes twice, and then who was her third one? Oh, Liz Carmouche. Liz Carmouche was a doctor stoppage, which she actually got back. She won her title against Joanna Jędrzejczyk way back, 2018, and then has defended her title 6 times since then against Jessica Ai. Liz Carmouche was her second title defense. Caitlin Chikadian, Jennifer Maia, Jessica Andrade, and then most recently Lauren Murphy. So she's fought everybody. She's fought good strikers. She's fought good cardio. She's fought great jiu-jitsu, good wrestlers. She's fought everybody. She can't beat Amanda Nunes. She was stopped by Liz Carmouche because of a cut, but avenged that loss. I don't think there's really anybody out there that can mess with Valentina Shevchenko. I think with Juliana Pena beating Amanda Nunes. I think that could be a fight for Valentina Shevchenko if for some reason Pena could beat Amanda Nunes again. That fight's not there anymore. Maybe Shevchenko tries to unify the belts against Pena. Maybe that's an interesting fight. But other than Nunes, there's not many women out there that can contend with Valentina Shevchenko. She is a black belt in judo, master of sport in boxing and kickboxing. She's going to have a very, very slight size disadvantage against Talia Santos. But Talia Santos is a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. She's 19-1, never been finished, 10 wins by knockout, 6 wins by decision. She's 4-1 in the UFC with a 4-fight winning streak. She lost her debut by split decision against Mara Romero Barilla, meaning that one of the judges did see it, that Santos won the fight, so she potentially could need to be undefeated right now. She won a decision over Molly McCann, Jillian Robinson, and Roxanne Modafferi, and then submitted Joanna Calderwood, or Joanna Wood, however the fuck you want to say her name. Damn. Now that she got married. And that was her last fight last November. But, I mean, if you're looking at all the women that Valentina Shevchenko has went through, she's went through pretty much everybody in that division. I think the biggest names you got to say Santos has beat, Wood, Modafferi, and Robinson, I don't think come anywhere close to the resume that Valentina Shevchenko has. That being said, I think pretty handedly Valentina Shevchenko takes that win there. Weili Zhang taking on Joanna Jędrzejczyk. That would be a rematch from their fight of the year in 2020. Zhang is currently on a 2-fight losing streak, though, losing both her fights to Rose Namajunas. She's 5-2 in the UFC, wins over Tisha Torres, Jessica Andrade, Joanna Calderwood, and then, of course, losing those two to Rose Namajunas. She has a professional kickboxing record of 2-2. Purple belt in jiu-jitsu, won that fight of the year against Jędrzejczyk. Former strawweight champion, currently ranked second in the division. Jędrzejczyk has a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. She has a pro kickboxing record of 27-3-1. Professional MMA record of 16-4. She's currently 2-4 since losing her title to Rose Namajunas in 2017. Her last fight was that decision loss in 2020 to Weili Zhang, UFC 248. Joanna has never been submitted in her professional career, was only knocked out in one of her 4 losses. That was against Rose Namajunas. 11 out of 16 her wins via decision, and she has career losses to Weili Zhang, we just talked about, Rose Namajunas 2 times, we have just talked about those, and then Valentina Shevchenko, who I think is a division above her. But, I mean, again, Joanna's only lost to the best of the best. She has lost to Zhang. That was a very, very close fight. Very interesting fight for the fans. Everybody's hoping to see that now. I'm very interested to see if they're going to last second make it a 5-round fight or if they're going to roll with 3 rounds for that fight. I guess that makes all the difference, man. How active. If it's a 3-round fight, they can get active from jump because they both have really good cardio. So they can get active from jump. Does it change? You know, Joanna's getting up there. She hasn't fought in a while. I think that those 2 factors are going to mean that Weili Zhang has very similar outcomes as the first fight. She wins a decision. Jack Della Maddalena versus Ramazan Emeev. Very interesting fight. Jack Della Maddalena is going to be very big in that division for a very long time. He has a professional record of 11-2, and he is 1-0 in the UFC, knocking out Pete Rodriguez in his UFC debut in UFC 270 in January. He won his UFC contract on Dana White's Contender Series in 2021 with a decision win over Angel Lusa, however you want to say it. And then both of his career losses were his first 2 professional fights in 2016. He was submitted once and then knocked out once. 9 out of 11 of his wins via knockout. He has 1 submission win, meaning he only has 1 decision win. And he's going up against Ramazan Emeev, who is an international master of sport in Sambo. We got another Sambo star here. 20-5 is his professional record with 7 wins via submission and 10 wins via decision. He's 5-2 in the UFC, with his 2 losses being decision losses to Anthony Rocco Martin and Danny Roberts, both 2 very good strikers. Danny Roberts being an extremely good counter striker. And his biggest UFC or his biggest wins in his entire career is a knockout over Albert Durev. That was before the UFC. Sam Alvey and David Zawada in the UFC. David Zawada, though, was a split decision win. He is a two-time former M1 Global middleweight champion. Very good grappling. I think Jack Della Maddalena is a very good striker going up against a very good grappler. We've never really seen Maddalena go against a world-class, striker. I mean, a world-class grappler like Emiv. But he is coming into this fight as a slight favorite, and he's going to come in a little bit longer, too. So Emiv, hasn't really beat the best of the best. He beat Sam Alvey, he beat David Zawada barely. But he did lose to Anthony Rocco Martin, who I don't think is as good as Maddalena. And he did lose to Danny Roberts, who I also don't think is as good as Jack Della Maddalena. So with that being said, I'm going JDM for the win via knockout against the grappling world-class Sambo grappler Ramzani Emiv. Which takes us on to the one prelim fight that I have here for us. Jacob Malkoun versus Brandon Allen. Brandon Allen coming in at almost minus 300 favorite. Black belt in jiu-jitsu, 15-5 professional record for Brandon Allen. He is 6-2 in the UFC, with his only losses in the UFC being a TKO loss to Sean Strickland and a TKO loss to Chris Curtis. So I think in his fight with Strickland, he got a little mixed up with the counter strikes. And then in his fight with Chris Curtis, he just got caught. Chris Curtis has a lot of power for that division. So he did get caught in that fight. He's got 10 wins via submission and 5 wins via knockout, which puts him at 3 wins via decision. He only has 3 losses prior to the UFC. Those losses came against Anthony Hernandez, Eric Anders, and Trevin Giles. All 3 of those men, I think Anthony Hernandez might have just got released, but Eric Anders and Trevin Giles both, to my knowledge, in the UFC right now. He won his most recent fight via submission over Sam Alvey in February. He will be going up against Jacob Malkoun, who is 6-1 as a pro. So 7 professional fights going up against 23 professional fights. Jacob Malkoun is also on a 4-fight winning streak. Or no. He's got 4 of his wins via decision of his 6 wins. He got knocked out in his UFC debut by Phil Hawes, and now has back-to-back decision wins over Abdul Razak Al-Hassan and AJ Dobson in his last 2 fights. He won the 2019 ADCC Asian and Oceanic Championship in Tokyo. Brown belt in jiu-jitsu, 4-inch height, 2-inch reach disadvantage going against Brandon Allen. I think Jacob Malkoun, his strength lies directly in his grappling. He's used it his entire career. I say his entire career, but it's 7 fights long. He's relied heavily on his grappling. He's won grappling tournaments. He's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu going against a black belt in jiu-jitsu, meaning Brandon Allen has more experience in jiu-jitsu, more experience in mixed martial arts, and he is the bigger fighter. I think this one, although Malkoun is a very tough guy, comes down to, Brandon Allen is going to be able to out-grapple him. He's going to be able to outstrike him, and he's just going to be bigger. He's going to be more of a presence inside the octagon than Jacob Malkoun. I'm going Brandon Allen. Prelims, like I said, Rogerio Bontorin versus Manel Kape is going to be on the main card. But just to mention that there, the prelims also have on it Suing Woo Choi versus Joshua Kubayo. Steve Garcia will be taking on Heister Machete. Jake Matthews will be fighting Andre Fujihalo. I think that fight was supposed to happen a few weeks ago, but that lands here on UFC 275. Kang Kung Ho will be taking on Dana Vetgrel. Liang Na will be taking on Silvana Gomez Juarez. And then Ramona Pascual will be taking on Jocelyn Edwards. I know everybody's saying, what's up with all the Asian guys on this card, Asian girls on this card? The fight's in Singapore. So what that means about the time frame, I don't know. Let me just take a look at that. I did not look that up. But after we look up the time frame of this, we're going to take a slight look at what is next. Not this weekend, but next weekend. Oh, it's 10 p.m. That's weird. 10 p.m. for them has to be like fucking 4 o'clock in the morning. So all these people in Singapore are going to be awake at 4 o'clock in the morning inside of an arena fucking screaming for violence. And fucking United States has them as an enemy. That's fucking awesome. But that'll wrap that up. Let's take one look into next week. I don't know if they're an enemy of the United States. I just know they're one of the biggest world powers. And if there was going to be a war, a final world war, it'd be the United States, Russia, and China, Asia, somewhere in there. And that's who we got going against. We got going against people who stay awake till 6 o'clock in the morning, fucking screaming about violence. June 18th, they are going to Austin, Texas for a fight night. Calvin Kattar and Josh Emmett supposed to be the main event there. Kevin Holland versus Tim Means supposed to be taking place on that card. Donald Cerrone, Joe Lozon. A bunch of really good fights. Adrian Yanez makes his return against Tony Kelly. Let's see who else they got. Phil Hawes, Deron Wynn. It's going to be a great grappling match there. Damir Ismagulov versus Guram Kutaladze. Another good one. Albert Durev versus Joaquin Buckley. We just talked about Durev a little bit. But very, very exciting fights coming up in the UFC. Make sure you stay tuned this Saturday. Pay-per-view UFC 275. Come back next Tuesday. We did UFC 275 preview and the top 10 running backs of the 2000s. Maybe we'll do something to do with the NFL next week. And we will also be doing the UFC Austin main card preview. So see you then. Stay barbecued. You guys know what the fuck it is.